Hey, what's up, everybody? Starting another issue of Josh Says Mean Things. We're going to be in our blues today. We're going to be drinking some sweet tea from Rudy's, and we're going to be talking about some photos from our Patreons. So we're going to wait for everybody to hop on, and then we will get started. Yeah. Oh, I can hear y'all better now. Better headphones can hear y'all better. Oh, this is gonna be so good, y'all. I'm so excited. Yeah, this is gonna be episode 6 of Josh Says Mean Things. Yeah. So if you're throw it in the chat, say hey in the chat. Let us know who's out there. Let us know where y'all are watching from. Yeah, it's gonna be a good day. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. The weather's not as hot as it was last week, which is super nice. Um, so I hope y'all been able to go out and shoot a little bit, staying safe, of course. But, I really hope that y'all are, for me, um, my camera is kind of my therapy. So, it's so weird just talking into the void like this. I don't know if it's something I want to be good at. I don't know. Maybe you have to be a special type of person, just be able to talk and look right into a camera with nobody there. I don't know how the newscasters and stuff do it. I used to be able to do it back in the day when I was a high school broadcast journalism, but I don't know. It's a little bit weird not having a live audience to see if anything I'm saying is actually funny or not. Usually it's not, so not. I'm used to not getting laughs. Yay! Y'all can see me now. Look at that. Hey, what's up, Kendra? So good to see you. Hola. We're going to speak a little. Hablo español hoy. Hoy hablo español. Y tomo fotos. No. I used to be able to speak a lot better Spanish. I'm a little bit out of practice. That's actually the name, where the name of the company comes from. Azulox comes from the town that I lived in when I was learning Spanish. Guanajuato, Mexico, back in summer of 98. Yeah, so I had to create a webmail address, and yeah, I went with Azul Ox because it was kind of like Blue Ox, but in Spanish. Yeah. Who else we got out there? I see some other people, but I haven't seen them say hello. Who else we got out there? You too. You spent some time in Guanajuato? Really? What's your family's hometown, Kendra? Not very. What are you in Dolores Hidalgo? Las Trancas? Where are you at? San Miguel de Allende? See, I can hablo un poquito. You gotta know that about me. I know I look very white, but I did grow up in Seguin, Texas, and I was in 3 quinceañeras. So, yeah. Yeah, my Spanish used to be better too. There's a lot of things about me that used to be better. As we get older, right? Everything used to be better, right? Around here, they say, "Well, I used to could, I used to could do that, but now I can't no more." San Miguel, yeah, San Miguel's awesome. I have some photos from San Miguel. I'll have to send them over to you sometime. Yeah, I just went back maybe 4 years ago. We went down. We drove down from Austin all the way down to maybe it's 5 years ago now. But we drove down to Dolores Hidalgo, Guanajuato, San Miguel. We did some bridal portraits and some engagement photos. Because when people ask me to do engagement photos, I go crazy. Yeah. Anybody else out there listening? Throw it out in the chats. Let me know where y'all are coming in from. Who else is out there? Let me know who I'm talking to tonight. Um, hopefully there's some. Hopefully it's not just me and Kendra hanging out. I mean that'd be fine too. But we always like a party. Um, so yeah. Why don't we go ahead and start talking about photos? If you can't tell, I'm pretty excited, y'all. It's been a good day. Um, I don't know. Things are bad and things are good, and it's kind of hard to reconcile the two, right? There's a lot going on in the world, a lot of social upheaval, a lot of sickness. But if there's anything, I kind of had to think about this kind of long and hard, and that is that a role that I can play is to be a light, is to be, I don't know, a positive or an escape. So I'm just going to really lean into that. I don't know how to fix the big problems, but I do know how to fix your photos. And so that's what I'm going to work on, and that's what I'm going to help. And that's for me a way that I feel good about the things that I'm doing, is to bring some joy, bring some happiness, bring some light, bring some excitement to all the things that y'all are excited about. Yeah, so I think that's how I can kind of reconcile what I am doing right now, which is talking about photos. Not the most important thing to the whole world, but to the people that submitted these photos, our great patrons. It is an important thing, right? They're trying to get better at a passion, a skill, a hobby, a business. And so if we can help that, then we can help them live the change that they want to be. So, all right, well, let's go and get started talking about photos. The first one we have today is from our good friend Debbie Cole, and she sent us a color image this time. She said in the email, she said, "Yeah, go ahead, go hard, because this is color, and usually she's black and white. So this is fun. I think this is this photo makes you work, and I think that's the best thing that a photo can do. Really, is to kind of engage you and make you work. And so you're expecting the person closest to you to be in focus. And it's not, right? We have dear the patron saint of Austin, Willie Nelson, who is our right. He's our subject, actually, and so oh man. So we have Willie Nelson there. That's our kind of our, like I said, our patron saint, and he's really what we see here in this photo. Is we're looking at Willie, and I think what's funny, just off to the left hand side, we have the word stag, which to me is interesting because the subject or the person close to us is, I'm guessing, a female, long hair. I'm guessing it's Austin. Who knows? So we have stag and Willie, and then we have that contrast of an out of focus woman. I wish there was, with that stag word, I wish there was some other male human living person in this photo. I just think that would have talked to what the words in there a little bit more. The other thing I would say, just a little bit of cleanup. We have some dust spots, I think there's a hair maybe across the sensor. I know it's hard to get those things cleaned right now because everything's closed, but something like that just kind of takes away from an otherwise really nice photo. Just be careful, especially in the corners. That's kind of where your eyes end up a lot of times. And so if we can get those things cleaned up, I think it makes the impact of the photo a little bit, because it doesn't give the viewer an excuse to lose focus and go somewhere else in the photo. But I like this. I like that it's in color. I like the blues and whites and reds. I think those all work well together. I like that the subject's kind of this like jangly cigarette, just kind of walking through the scene. Holding a cell phone, right? If she didn't have a cell phone, you almost wouldn't know when this was shot, right? We have Willie and a cigarette and kind of a tie-dyed hippie walking through the streets. And so, it's interesting. It's engaging. You kind of go from the face to Willie to the words and then back again. Other thing, the sky is kind of that more cyan than blue. That's a choice, but just something to be kind of careful of. Blue skies, just a choice. You can make them blue or you can make them not. Also, Lightroom just made some big changes today. So if y'all are watching this, they made some localized adjustment hue channels. I'm going to be writing some stuff up on the Patreon channel, on the Patreon page, talking about how you can utilize the new hue, localized hue changes. But this would be maybe a good photo to try that out on. So yeah, good job, Debbie. All right, so this one comes from one of our newest patrons, Tiffany Warsbach. This was shot last night, actually, or 2 nights ago. She was sending me photos live as it was happening. We were working with her on how to get our sunsets to look magical. but then at the same time, how to light our subjects, right? Most of the times, if you have a camera without a flash, you can either get the sunset or the subject. But by using flash photography, we can expose for the sky, bring the sky down, and use our flash to bring up our subject. And so they were just playing around. They had access to a steer here. I was getting late night texts of steers, which that shows my age, I guess. The things that I would do better on this one, I would have moved to the right just a little bit so that the steer is blocking the hot spot of that sunset, and that way it's not so peaked. If you went to print this, that center really bright probably wouldn't lay down any ink. And so I would use the subjects as a way to block the sun. The other thing I would do, I would probably tip my camera about 10 degrees up to where the bottom of the frame is closer to the bottom of their feet. And that way it's a more engaging photo. It makes our subjects look more heroic, and it also brings in more of the sky, right? Ask yourself, do I want to see more of the dirt or more of the sky? In this case, probably more of the sky, right? We have this cool sunset going on, so I probably want to see more of that, less of the dirt. So I would have raised that camera up, the angle of it up, and here go my kids running through. I would have raised the angle of my camera up, to make them look more heroic, but also to show off more of that sky, right? So as we get closer, as we get wider, that's something that we could show more of. And that would be my big critique there. If you do have a composition like this, something you can do in Lightroom, go to the gradient tool, go like -1 and drag up from the bottom, and it'll darken that bottom of the frame. And that way your eyes go more to the face and less to the dirt and grass that's being illuminated by the flash. So you could either do it with like a gradient tool, or you could do it by raising up your angle. So both are options, but that's something I would definitely do. And then I would have moved about 5 feet to the right and put the steer right in front of the sunset, and that way it's not so blown out right behind them. Yeah, but good job of working with lights. We always talk about stacking bricks, right? Getting good at one thing so you can work on the next thing. So this is a good example of getting a good exposure in the sky, getting a good exposure with the flash, and now once you get comfortable with that, now you can forget about it, so you can worry back again about composition and the action of the photo. All right, this one comes to us from our good friend, Mr. Braun Nixon. Shout out B. Hey, Miguel, what's up, man? Good to see you. This is going to be a weird analogy here, but the shape of the grass here almost reminds me of the opening scene of Star Wars where the Imperial cruiser's coming in, right? That this big wedge-shaped thing just like floating through the clouds. So imagine if the clouds were stars and the dirt was an Imperial engine, right? And the concrete there was just like the back of the thrusters, right? That's kind of what this photo reminds me of. The cool thing about this is there's nothing in the frame unless you follow the leading lines all the way to the end, and then we get to that like road sign. So think about the weight of a photo, right? It has like a seesaw to it, and that blue sign kind of is a counterweight against the concrete on the left. And they're both all the way at the end, and so the weight of them kind of balances out. Can y'all see that? Is that kind of cool? All right, so we talk about the weight of a photo, right? Does it feel balanced, right? If you put it on a scale, if you put it on the center of the scale, would it balance out, right? So that's kind of an interesting way to think about it. I do like the blue kind of Simpson clouds we have going on there. It's a very fine crop or in camera to get it this way. It takes more patience and more looking at the details than you might think it does. But all in all, I think this is very serene. The other thing, right? Have you ever heard of what is it called? Dostoevsky's gun, right? If in chapter 1 of a book it talks about a gun, by the end of the book that gun needs to have fired, right? So in this case, if you have all these leading lines, they need to have a payoff at the end, right? If the viewer is looking all the way down the line, all the way down the line, all the way down the line, at the end of the line, there needs to be something there for them. And what I think is so funny about this one is that, it is that like highway sign, and it's kind of hard to read and it's small, but it gives you something to focus on right at the end. If that wasn't there, I don't think this photo would have worked, right? So it's interesting how with just one little detail can make the photo go. It can make it work or not work. Yeah, it's a good shot, Brian. Yeah, I don't know how. The only thing I would have changed on this photo to make it slightly different on the very left side, where the concrete and the grass come, I would have liked to have seen that have been the end of that triangle right there. I would have liked to have seen just the end of that triangle right there at the very end of the concrete and the grass. It kind of gets cropped off a little bit, but that's a minor detail. I think the statement of this photo works, right? We basically have three giant triangles, right? We have the triangle of the concrete, the triangle of the grass, and then we make a triangle with the sky. So that was good. Yeah. Look, I'm not saying anything mean yet today. We're doing good. All right, Kendra, you ready? All right, food photography. I'm going to tell you the secret to food photography. Y'all ready? Backlight. Backlight is the key to food photography. I think the composition of this is good. We have just a little bit of the strawberry. We have just a little bit of the spoon. And those are out of focus, not drawing a lot of attention to themselves. We have good details and kind of the breadcrumbs on top of the ice cream there. We have good detail on the strawberry. But we have light coming from the wrong direction. So this is a front lit photo, right? The light is coming into the cup. What we need to have done is move that light 180 degrees so that it's coming across the strawberry into the back of the ice cream, and then have a fill card there to bring up the shadows in the front. So we need to swing that light maybe 120, 150 degrees around from where it is so that we get backlight. So the key to food photography, to show dimension, to show 3 dimensions, to show shape, to show texture, is backlight. So we need to have that light coming from the opposite direction. And then if it gets too dark, bring in a fill card to fill in the shadows. Okay? Does that make sense so far, Kendra? I think this is your photo, right? The other thing I would say, there's maybe 10% too much black at the top. I would have made this more of a panorama. Without changing my camera angle, I would have made this a more panoramic and cropped down from, there's just like the top, 100 pixels don't really do anything. And I would have brought those down, maybe even from the left edge, and just brought it down all the way from the left edge across. That spoon isn't really doing a lot. And so, coming in just a little bit tighter with our crop, I think would have added to this photo as well. But yeah, we definitely need to have that light coming from a different direction. That's the big part that I would change to this one. Food photography is hard until you learn what the secret is, and it's backlight and then fill. If you do a Google search for best food photography, last time I did it, 99 of the top 100 images were all backlit and fill examples. So that's kind of the formula for that. You can do a front light, but it needs to have a very modern look. And it's kind of a different, hard look where it's not trying to be soft. So that's your other choice, I think. You could also do cross light, so you have a light on the right, light on the left, and have them just kind of crossing into each other. But again, I would have liked to have seen those values much higher than what we have here to make it brighter. And then in post, if that black velvet or whatever that is, you could darken that down then as well. So keep working on it. I know you've been doing a lot of food stuff. It's hard to get out and shoot people right now. So, but yeah, just keep working on that. You had a lot of things right. But we need to change the lights there. All right, this one comes to us from another one of our patrons, Miss Ronnie Duke. Shout out, Ronnie, if you're out there. This photo, it's interesting. A lot of the photos that were submitted were very sparse, and you'll see some more of them coming up. But this is kind of that decay and urban decay and just urban emptiness. And I don't know if that's just because how we're all feeling right now is kind of decayed and empty and lonely, or if that's just what we felt like. But we got a lot of submissions where everything was very sparse. It was very minimalistic. So maybe that's just kind of the mood of the crowd right now. The good things about this photo, right? We have depth. We have this cool skeleton sugar skull kind of person at the bottom. We have a askew tow-away zone. There's nothing in the back, but it has depth, right? That front corner is our foreground. We have a middle ground as the lines run away, and then we have the backlight, right? So we have the classic underpinnings of a landscape photo, right? A foreground, a middle ground, and a background. But I think we're missing something. I think maybe this might have been better as a horizontal crop to see more. That whole top 20% of the photo isn't really adding a whole bunch. I would have been interested to see what this would have looked like as a horizontal, to let that beam run into something, right? So we have a leading line running away from the frame, that wood bumper, and what would that have ended up into, right? That I don't know if there's anything there, but that could have been something interesting, right? Or we have the beam coming across the other way. What does it end up into? Now, the other thing, if we wanted to keep shooting vertical, to shoot just the graffiti or sticker or whatever that is, just the beam and just the tow-away sign. So have that be our point of interest in just those three things, right? So either just those three things, or shoot wider and show more. This is, again, one of those examples where the photo kind of feels in the middle of. It feels like there was some indecision about what am I focusing on, right? Is it the sign? Is it the graffiti? Is it the beam? Where's my crop? Where's my angle? It's kind of in the middle, right? It's not really shot from a low angle. It's not really shot from a high angle. It feels kind of like shot with about a 50 mil, just kind of in the middle. So, it feels halfway to whatever it was trying to be. I feel that way with landscapes all the time. What do I show? What do I not show? That's something that I struggle with landscapes, which is why I don't shoot a lot of landscapes, because I just don't know what all to show. And that's just practice. But this one feels like it's halfway. Either it needs to come in tighter on the graffiti, the beam, and the tow-away sign, and just focus on that, or go wider and show more of this desolation, show more of the emptiness, show more of the vastness, more of the urban decay. Okay. There's also some really cool graffiti in this back wall. That could have been an interesting photo as well, especially if there's somebody back there crying. Okay, now now there's some other stuff going on. So, it's good. Exposure's fine and all that. I like being on the corners of buildings like that, but I would try it going horizontally maybe, or coming in tighter again if you can go back to that location. All right. This is from our friend Mary. We met Mary at the PPA. I can't think of what it's called now. Basically, the PPA convention in Nashville. And we got to talking and became friends. So Mary, if you're out there, shout out. Thanks for submitting a photo. And I think this one's really fun. This feels like it could be an ad for something, right? We have this beautiful couple on a boat, and they both just have these warm, great smiles, and they're just so into each other. And then we have a beautiful city skyline in the background. Shooting on a boat is hard. I've tried to do it a few times. You kind of run out of ideas, or at least I have. But I really love the feel of this. It could be like, the screen of a Verizon commercial or something like that. This great hair and offset against the background. I just really love it. The things that I would just be a touch careful about. His hands with the watch get cropped off at the bottom. Always be careful of hands and eyes and feet. And in this case, man, just a touch lower, or come up a little bit in the crop where the hands aren't there at all. So maybe crop right above the watch, or come down just below the hands. But it's kind of that halfway zone where we're just seeing a little bit of skin, but it looks like he has no fingers. So I hope he does have fingers. That's something to always kind of watch out about. I also like the toning of this. It kind of has a good cinematic feel to it. Hey, Colton. Colton, do you want to come say hi?
Yeah.
Here, this is my son, Colton.
Hello.
There you go. All right. Thanks, Colton. If you listen to episode 2 of the Make podcast.com, Colton interviews me in that one. So shout out to that one. I know some of y'all have discovered that episode, and that's kind of fun. So, but thanks, man. Right there. Knuckles. Love you, boy. I love you. He's wearing our Los San Antonio Spurs Por Vida shirt. So, yeah. But yeah, the other thing, on on her right chin. I don't know. Maybe just clean that skin up just a touch. But yeah, I love this like windswept feel of this photo. The other thing to maybe pay attention to is that city skyline. The buildings are kind of askew. They're out of focus. They're not the point of the photo, so that it doesn't bother me. But you might want to see if fixing that makes the impact better. It may not. If it were just the buildings, then you absolutely would want to fix it. But just as a backdrop to a couple, it's fine. But just something to keep in mind. Those buildings are kind of getting right, especially at the edges. So we want to kind of take a look at those, make sure we keep our lines vertical if we can. Again, we're just trying to remove distractions so that the point of the photo comes across and the people viewing the photos only see exactly what we as the photographers want to show them. Right? That's really the trick to all of this, is that we have to be the magicians and hide the things with sleight of hand so that you only see what we want you to see and your eyes go to where we want your eyes to go, so that the impact is there, right? Right, the Prestige, great movie. Right, we want to have that prestige at the end. In this case, that couples the prestige. So we want to make sure the setup and everything else is just there in the background to not provide a distraction, but just to provide context. Yeah. So anyway, good job, Mary. I like this photo. When you sent it to me, I was like, that one. That's the one I want to see. All right. This is from our Patreon, Miss Mia. Miss Mia has been a lot of our subjects for our Patreon post. She's the every model. Mia, if you're out there, we love working with you. You got a birthday coming up this week as well, so happy early birthday. Mia and I met in Colorado Springs at a Comic-Con, and found out we met 1,000 miles away and realized we lived like 40 minutes away from each other. So that was kind of a interesting one. And we were introduced by our mutual friend, Miss Mayhem's Muse, Jenny Lynn Larson. So for those of you who've worked with me or modeled, she's been in model in our workshop quite a few times as well. Yeah. So this one was photographed not by me, but by a photographer in the area named, I believe, Michael James. And so Mia wanted me to critique this. This one, again, I find it interesting that the hands, especially her right fingers, with the way the shadows comes out, it looks like she has 3 fingers. And that's kind of the first thing my eyes went to. And then also on her left hip, that's kind of the brightest part of the photo. And I would have liked to have seen a little bit more light, the brightness of the light more toward her face, to really play with the fingers coming across, and then kind of leading up to her face, I think would have been more interesting than the bright spot kind of in her midsection. And so for me, I'm faces. I'm a portrait photographer, but for most things. And so that's what I want to see, right? I want to see your face being the most important thing, and your hands and shadows and silhouettes to shape that, and to guide you there. And so, that's what I would have liked to have seen. Also with the pose, maybe that hip kind of like swinging back away from the camera. I'm not sure. I don't know if that would have worked, because I do like the hip action. Kind of look like you're salsa dancing in the fading sunlight. So that's always fun as well. So I think it's a good photo. I don't think it's a great photo. Mia doesn't really take bad photos. Well, that's not true. Mia's terrible underwater. She's great at everything else. But if anybody wants to see really bad photos of Mia, I have the ones of her. The only photos I've ever taken of her that look terrible are her underwater. It didn't go so well. That was a fun day. But yeah, right. I mean, I don't know. There's something missing from this photo, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. But I think the interesting part is the shadows, the fingers, and the face, and just like the shoulder, right? That kind of gauzy part of the shoulder. Like, to me, that's the interesting part. So I would have liked to have seen that closer in, where it's just the hand, face, shoulder. To me, that's the interesting part. Everything else doesn't really make it more impactful. Yeah, so that's what I would change. That's my main thing for that one. I would have liked to have seen this crop in to about 20% instead of 100%, all the way in. Just the face, hand, shoulder. Yeah, but the tone's good. The shadows are good. Yeah. This one's from Miguel. I see Miguel on the live stream. What's up, man? We talked a little earlier today. He said this was his Dan Winters inspired photo. If y'all don't know who Dan Winters is, go look up Dan Winters. One of my favorite photographers. I have his Road to Seeing book. just out of reach right here. The Road to Sing book, if you can find it in print, is amazing. It's like 700 photos of how he became the photographer he is. Amazing. Go follow Dan Winters. His stuff is great. And actually, for you Austinites, he has a studio in Driftwood. There's a cool gas station. It's funny. People take photos there all the time, and I don't think they realize what it is. They know it's a studio maybe, but I don't think they realize who it is. Dan Winters has shot covers for like Golf Digest, Time Magazine. You've seen his work. I have multiple books of his. Work is phenomenal. Anyway, Dan Winters rant over. Miguel's photo of a portrait of a Chihuahua. The first thing that I would say, this photo, I could go two ways with it. One, I think this photo would be really good as kind of like a magazine cover, in that there's a space above the dog's head that would be great for type. So if you wanted to brand your business, that would be a great photo to put that, right above the dog's head. That'd be great. For me, though, as a portrait by itself, I would have liked to have seen a little bit less headroom. There's just a lot of negative space that I'm not sure. I'm not sure that it works that way, or I don't know. Again, this is one of those where the crop feels halfway. It's center focused, but then the dog's looking away, and so do we give it more room to look? I think this could have worked maybe better as a horizontal and given the dog room for his gaze to go. Okay, so if we think about like sports photos, portraits even, right? If we have movement, if we have running, it's usually good to give people room to run through the photo or to give their gazes room to see. And so this one kind of, I would like to have either given the little pup here some more room to look in the frame, or the other way and make it feel claustrophobic and come all the way down to the top of his head and the tip of his nose to where it feels like he's commanding the entire frame. Right? If we want to be doing this type of portrait show where we want the dogs or the animals to feel like heroes, we want them to feel larger than life. This one actually makes the dog feel a little bit small, and it is a small dog. But I think a closer crop or a horizontal, and going it that way, I think could, and you could probably do that pretty easy with like a clone stamp tool and make it go horizontal. I don't know. If it was looking back, I think the center crop would have worked. But for the pose, right, it kind of has that like classic painter pose, but it's in the wrong spot in the frame. Yeah. Otherwise, the color of the lighting's really great. Kind of this like cool green against kind of this yellow red of the nose and the fur. So there's some cool stuff going on. Just the crop's kind of that halfway. I always say, right, the most powerful tool in Photoshop is the crop tool. Think about that, right? Because that determines the weight of the photo. Yeah. All right, so here's another minimalist photo. See, did y'all notice the theme today? A lot of minimalist photos. Here's what I love about this photo. We can't see her mouth, but we all know she's smiling. Isn't that cool? Yeah. This is from our good friend Kosh, and Kosh just got engaged on Saturday. So shout out Kosh and Bhavna. Wish could have been there for y'all, but yeah, we're happy for Kosh. He's my buddy. So it's fun to see him taking that next step in life. So that's always fun. Anyway, this is a photo from him. He and I have shot 50, 75 weddings together. And not one in a while, though. It's been a few years, but we kind of started out together. But I really love this photo. I love that her arm forms a triangle. So from her eyes down to her elbow, right, we kind of have a triangle. It's really cool. I love that there's just a wisp of an outline of the groom, and that's really neat. We see just enough of him to know that he's there. But like we can't see her mouth, but it's still good anyway. And her face is the brightest thing in the photo. Do y'all notice that? Because the face is the brightest thing in the photo, that's exactly where your eyes go. Exactly where your eyes go is to her eyes immediately. Okay? Imagine if his shirt collar was really bright, right? And imagine if his shirt collar was like brighter than her face. Your eyes would have gone to the shirt collar first and then her eyes. but it's not. The eyes are the brightest thing. So your eyes go right to her eyes, right? And then everything else kind of follows. This photo also works with the great use of negative space. It also would be a great business card where you could put your logo off to that other side. Or if you're a graphic designer, right, put something on that other side of the photo. And I think that's absolutely well done in black and white. I'm sure it also works in color, but I think black and white really just gives it that serene, stark, that contrast between the starkness of the black and white and the smile in her eyes, right? And the fact that we can see her hands, right? I just think it works really well. And I really like this photo. Well done, Kosh. Cool. And this one's from Miss Kira, Furby Gang, another one of our patrons. She's actually out shooting a proposal right now that I couldn't do because I was going to do this live stream. So, yay, Kira. Kira also works with us quite a bit, so she's been really fun to work with. I think this is an interesting one to follow up with from the back of the last one we just saw. This one to me is a little too busy. And I know what she was using here. She was using a what are they called? The prisms, like the glass prisms, to kind of make some random patterns in front here. But I just think the pose and the place is just the groom is just very rigid. It doesn't feel like he really wants to be there. Maybe it was hot. I don't know. It's Texas. Right? It's a hard time of day to shoot. But it feels a little cold. The white balance feels a little off. The highlights are really, really bright. In the leaves and in the veil. Veils are very hard, right? I always worry when we shoot weddings that I want to get a good photo to show off all the details of a wedding dress. The people that wear wedding dresses at a wedding usually spend a lot of time picking it out. It means a lot to them. And so many times I see the wedding dress blown out with no detail. And I just think that's such a shame that you don't really get enough photos of all the details of the dress in a lot of portraits, because a lot of times people blow out those whites so much, right? That bright, airy look takes those dress details and just washes them all out. And I really just think that's a shame. Anyway, for this one, it just feels a little dull in color. The white balance feels off. The highlights are too hot. I would have liked to have seen this effect used much closer. I can tell that they're on a dam, or come around to the right. I know this is me saying maybe there's a big tree in the way. I don't know. But I would have liked to come around a little bit where you're shooting directly into the sun and letting that fractal lens go crazy. Right, because if it hits the light directly like that, it'll go nuts, and that would have added a lot more randomness. And then I would have yelled at the groom, make love to her, fool, or something, right, to get hit like a bigger reaction from him, because you're trying to do something cool with the light, and then he's just kind of standing there. Hey. Yeah, maybe this one would have been black and white too. That could have maybe been a shift to try as well, and kind of make it crunchier and like more contrasty. But again, this just kind of feels halfway. I would have liked to have seen a closer shot with that sun shining through and then have that fractal lens and then let that go crazy, right? Add some randomness to your photos. If you're struggling, add randomness, right? Add that hand into it where it really shows that it could have gone wrong. I think some of the best photos are the ones right on the edge of being right just before they go wrong. Right? Think about that sometime, right? Show just before it goes terrible, right on that precipice of everything falling apart. And this one just feels a little too sedated. But I like wild and crazy. We just did an engagement session on Friday night, and we had the couple jump off a 25-foot cliff while I was up to my neck in water. So that's me. I go a little big. Is that it? Is that all of our photos? That is all of our photos for today. Oh, we got through those quicker than I was expecting today. Well, guys, I just want to say thank y'all so much to our patrons. A lot of, that's all where all these photos come from. If you do want to be or check out what we have, the link is right on this live stream, patreon.com/Azulox. We're building to something much bigger. For those of y'all who know, my goal is to open a space so that we all have a place to shoot and work. It's not anytime soon, but that's kind of the whole reason of this Patreon, is that I want to build a space for people to learn photography and practice photography and to build their businesses. It's something I'm absolutely passionate about, and I hope y'all are as well. So thank y'all for y'all support, all my Patreon peeps. Yeah. Without that, we wouldn't be here doing the things that we're doing. It's given me a focus during this quarantine of what I really want to do, and it's given me an outlet for my own creativity. So yeah, it's fun seeing what everybody's been submitting. It's fun doing these live shows. Also, check out our podcast, make podcast.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify. And if you have any good suggestions on who you think would make a good guest for that, please send them my way. I'm always looking for some more people to interview. So far, we've done 8 episodes. I'm trying to do 2 or 3 a month. The quarantines make it a little bit hard, but yeah, if we can get some more names out there, just throw them out to me. Send me a message. You can always email me, josh@azulaux.com. Yeah, and just let me know who y'all want to hear from, because I'm open to interviewing interesting and new people. Let's see, what else do I want to thank? Thanks, Miguel. Thanks, Kendra, for commenting today. I appreciate y'all. Miguel, it was good talking to you earlier today. Kendra, I'm always here for you, girl. Just, throw me a line sometime. Let me know what I can help you with. Let's see. The Precision Camera Expo is this weekend. I'm not going to be there because they're not doing in-person stuff. I thought I might be, but that ended up getting pushed back. Hopefully we'll be able to start classes maybe in August or September again, because I'm really looking forward to getting in front of everybody and teaching some more. I'm working on some new things, trying out some new techniques, so hopefully we can have some new classes coming out maybe in 2021 with some of the new stuff we're learning. Yeah. So anyway, this has been episode 6 of Josh Says Mean Things. We'll probably be doing an afternoon episode in 2 weeks. So go out and shoot this week so that you can get some new photos to send to me for our next one, Josh episode Says Mean Things episode 7. That'll be in 2 weeks. And otherwise, I hope you'll have a great evening. Thanks for hanging out with us. All right. See you guys.